Hello everyone, it's Ibrahim Abu Talib from Reservoir Solutions. Welcome to our webinar, Exploration Risk and Dry Hole Analysis. Reservoir Solutions Company is specialized in providing technical studies and courses for oil and gas companies and professionals. This company incorporates many professionals with diverse technical background related to oil and gas exploration and production. Our services is technical reservoir studies, field development planning, reservoir static and dynamic modeling, economic feasibility studies, technical support for academic researchers, PhD and masters, assisting in writing technical papers and publishments, technical petroleum courses by industry experts, providing mentorship programs. Our instructor in this day is Eng Muhammad Ghamri. He is experienced in geophysics, in geophysics with 14 years of experience in seismic interpretation, seismic inversion, prospect generation, and well development. He is skilled in conducting structural and stratigraphic analysis, as well as borehole geophysics acquisition and processing. He gives more than learning structure lectures in Alexandria University for 10 years, conducting training courses in more than 7 different countries as Egypt, Algeria, Tunis, Libya, Nigeria, South Sudan. Our upcoming course is Exploration, Risk, and Dry Hole Analysis. It will be held on 15 April 2025. This course will be recorded. You will occur in a live course and ask your instructor during and even after workshop via WhatsApp group, and you will gain a certificate with electronic identification ID on our website. After this course, you will gain fundamentals of risk assessment in petroleum exploration, volumetric risk analysis and economic consideration, risk-based decision-making and financial assessment, dry hole analysis and decision-making framework, learning from dry holes, post-drill analysis. Our webinar rules. Your questions, ask it on chat box only. Mute your mic and camera, please, to get the attendees focus on our technical decision. Fill in the form which will send in the chat to get our webinar certificate. Join our Telegram channel for upcoming webinars and courses, and the link will be sent in the Zoom chat. Mr. Muhammad? Mr. Muhammad, are you speaking? We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now, Ibrahim?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's start. Thank you, Ibrahim, for this introduction, and thank you all. I would like to welcome you to this webinar. I hope that you can hear me good now. So we'll start with introduction to risk assessment and dry hole analysis. We'll talk about briefly about the main concept in risk assessment, because risk assessment doesn't have any concrete basics to rely on. So the types of risks that we consider: the geological and geophysical risk, also the engineering risk, economical risk, and environmental risk. And we have here to stop a little bit to differentiate between the risk, the geological or geophysical or whatever risk that we will be conducting, and the uncertainty of our information and of our interpretation, because a lot of dry hole starts with not very good seismic interpretation or not very good petrophysical analysis or whatever. So we'll have to differentiate completely between what is the risk and what is the uncertainty. The uncertainty of the tools that we are running if we are making a dry hole analysis for a very old well from 1980s or 1960s or whatever, or when we are conducting the petrophysical analysis for old wells, and when we review the old reports or the new reports, what is the cutoff? So this is the uncertainty and the uncertainty of the interpretation. But now we're going to talk about the risk. We'll focus on the G and G risk. So the risk assessment framework, actually, as I said in the beginning, it doesn't have a concrete or solid basics to rely on. How could we calculate the risk? Actually, all the professionals have these same questions in the industry. How many risk could we use? How many risk factors? What are the risk factors are independent and which of them could be multiplied? A lot of companies just use the reservoir, the source, the migration, etc., or the others. So let's just calm down and see how many risk factors should we calculate and what risk factors should be input, because the risk are one of the vital and most important when we make the financial computation, when we make the economic analysis. So if we don't know what is the basics for the risk calculation, you will lead to not a good decision. You will lead to not appropriate position. So how to estimate the probability? How to estimate these probabilities? When we see the risk, we'll see that the chance of success of this well is 8% or 10%. So what is the basics to put this probability? In professional life and when we work in oil and gas fields, we'll see that one of the geologists just put like a reservoir risk for zero point 0.6. So we'll ask him, why 0.6? Why not 0.7? Why not 100? Why not zero point 0.5? What is the basics to put this risk? So actually, those two questions are in the mind of every professional or every student that work in oil and gas. How many risk factors can I put in the equation, and how to estimate the probability of risk factor? So this is the authors and the different risk of the companies and how they calculate the risk factor. For White, he in 1993, he subdivided the risk factor into 12 factor and make a serial multiplication of this 12 factor: closure, volume, seal, timing, or etc. But for bridge oil, they used only 5 factors: trap, seal, reservoir, likelihood of oil. Petrofina used 4 factors: reservoir, seal, hydrocarbon charge, and closure. But for Statoil in 1996, they put 7 factors: closure, reservoir, porosity, source, migration, timing, trap, recovery, 7 factors. Conco actually put here a different methodology to calculate the risk. They put only 4 factors: reservoir, trap, seal, and source, and they multiply these factors with the historical success rate of the play. if they have a historical success rate of 50%, and all this are from like 20%, the chance of success, so the chance of success will be here only 10%. They use the historical. So as you can see, more than 10 ways to calculate the risk. Every company or every paper just try to put what they think this is the correct way of risking and the correct way of making the risk analysis. Here in PHP, actually, they put gas risk and DHI. They put the confidence in the direct hydrocarbon indicator as one of the risk factors. In ExxonMobil, they used 9 factors: trap, closure, seal, reservoir facies presence, reservoir quality, source richness, source maturation, migration, pathway, all of this. So, how many factors should we use? And how could we estimate this? So, let me give you a simple example. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. Commonly, most of the companies and professionals use 4 factors. The first one is the structure. This is the main group. The structure, what is the structure, how the structure looks like, what is the closure, what is the geometry, including the stratigraphy. Also, the porous reservoir. Is the probability of finding a porous reservoir, is it a sand sheet? So the sand sheet, if I have sand sheet and I can find this sand sheet in all the wells in my area, that will be great. But if I have a fluvial channel, the fluvial channel I made well and I can find sand in another place, I can find a shale. So the risk factor here will be greater. What about the petroleum system? What about the maturation of the petroleum system? And actually, the maturation is one of the very important risk factor. Is it deep well? Should it produce gas? Should it produce oil? Should it produce gas and oil? If it produces gas with low porosity, this will be producible, but with but what if it produces oil with very, very low porosity? This well will not produce. So here, the porosity actually and the petroleum system are connected somehow, because the lighter oil, you can rely on a lower porosity. So these two are connected, the porous reservoir. And at least the seal. Seal is one of the most important thing while risking, and a lot of professionals just take the seal for granted. If they have like thick shale for 20 meters or 30 meters thick shales, okay, we have 30-meter thick shales, so this is a very good seal. But actually, this is not correct. How could we put a number for the risk, and how could we make a good risk? So please be with me because I'll need you in 10 minutes, or not less than 10 minutes. We have here hydrocarbon system. We'll try to make risking for this hydrocarbon system together. Everyone, I'll ask 5 or 6 of you just to put after I give you all this data about this hydrocarbon system as a start of this presentation. I'll ask you to calculate the risk based on serial multiplication of 4 factors. So I'll give you now the example data, very simple data, and I want to see how this risk factors will vary from each other of you. So I just want 5 volunteers or 6 volunteers that they will calculate this risk with me. So please, the volunteers, just put their name their name in the comment box as a volunteer. So this is one of the petroleum system. This is a petroleum system in North Sea. We have here aberrant sea, aberrant sandstone. It acts like a reservoir, and on top of this reservoir there is unconformity. After the aberrant sandstone, we'll have heather shale. Heather shale is a organic, poor organic, and thick shale acts like a seal. And then we have another shale. It's Dupuyne shale. It's organic, rich, and serves as a source rock. Then we have the hydrocarbon generation and expulsion from Duprine oil and gas, Duprine oil and gas. And here we have the migration, the supposed migration, as you can see from the arrows, green arrows and the red arrows, the migration to the below reservoir. So here, this is the most likely scenario. We have here the reservoir, the source, the seal, the 5 elements of the petroleum system. Then we have from the source who started the oil generation. Then the oil migrated into these 2 small anticlines. As you can see, this is the alpha one. Let me open the pointer here. This is alpha prospect before the faults. Now, in this 18 million years ago, we didn't have yet the faults. So the oil migrated from the source, the oil generated and migrated to accumulate in this small anticline and then spill after the spill point and accumulate in this smaller one. Then the faults occurred, as you can see. This is the oil generation have here. So now we have 2 main prospects, alpha prospect and beta prospect. So now I give you sites about the source rock, as we told, the source rock, as you can see here. Let's go back a little bit. The source rock is Duprine shale, and the reservoir rock is Prince sandstone, and the seal is Heather shale. So this is the data that we have, and this is my interpretation. So I'm giving you this presentation, and I wanna hear from you. How could you calculate the risk, and what is the risk factors that you can find in your mind when we calculating the risk factor for this prospect? Now we have 2 prospects, so I want you, 5 volunteers, to calculate the risk that you can see for multiplying those 4 factors: source, reservoir, seal, and the petroleum system. So please, I'll give you 2 minutes, and I want here engagement. So just put, if you put an 0.7 for the reservoir, then 0.5 or 0.2 for the source. And for the seal, you put 1. For the petroleum system, you put 0.5 and just multiply those 4 factors. Okay, so please confirm me in the comment section that you will calculate the risk for this petroleum system. And for this prospect, sorry, for alpha prospect. This will calculate the risk for alpha prospect. I just told you about the reservoir unit, which is the Brent sandstone, and for the shale, and for the source, and for the most likely scenario for the migration. So just I want few serial multiplication of those very simple 4 factors. I'll give you 2 minutes. So I didn't find anyone in the comment section here says that he's a volunteer. So please, I want interaction here. Anyone could open the mic and talk who want to I like the interactive lectures. I don't like the silent lectures. So anyone could open the mic and tell me what is the final chance of success he calculated after multiplication of this for serial. So hello, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, Professor. I thought that the chance of success is very high, about 80%.
80%. So you put the 80%. Okay. So this is one. So we have, thank you. What can I know your name, please?
Miguel Ibarra.
Okay, Miguel. Thank you, Miguel. So Miguel said it's 80% chance of success, but we have here in the comment section, Isaac say that it looks like oil migrate down seems risky. Very correct. So Isaac, what is the chance of success you calculated? Tell me the number. Just get it in the comment section. We'll make a series multiplication for 4 factors: source, reservoir, seal, and petroleum system. So now we have 80%. For myself, I got maybe like 25%. Here we have 10%. So could you, from this 3 examples, the risk that we calculated based on the same data ranges from 10% to 80%. So if I'm the CEO of the company, how could I take a decision based on this huge variation? Although you have the same data, how could I take a decision? Miguel told me 80% and IZ told me less than 10%. How could I take the decision? Who can I rely on? This is economics. When I calculate the economics and the EMV, we multiply the chance of success versus the money versus the risked volume. So in final, we are this is an business industry. So the business industry cannot have this wide variation. Okay, Kanki said, can you please repeat the values? This is not values. I want your values, not my values. I want the values when I use this petroleum system. I not the values. Farm it out and let someone else pay for the well. So what is the scientific basis if we have all this variation, more than 70% of variation? So let's see here. What happened? Why Emigel put 80% and here and IZ will put 10%. So now we'll go and see how our minds work. It's not about scientific, it's about thinking, how our minds work. Actually, when we go to psychology and try to understand how our mind works, we'll find a very common thing called congenital bias. What is the congenital bias? This is the factors that affect our decisions, not in oil and gas only. This is in everything. And actually, the bias and the psychologists use the bias in marketing. They play with our brains just to make the brain go to the way that they want. This is one of the most common marketing. For example, if you are buying anything online, you will have someone getting the Facebook ad that will have a free shipping. If I'm buying like a cell phone for like $2,000 and the other one selling it for $2,100 and write a free shipping. Most of people go for this free shipping, although it is the same. He put the shipping value inside the price of the cell phone itself. Why he use this? Because the human brain loves the free stuff. That's why we have to go to psychology and know how our brain works and how our brain thinks. We'll know what is the bias. First of all, what is bias? The bias can be conscious. The bias, everything could drift your thinking and could make you not having the correct decision. Each of one has our own bias, but in business, there are very common biases. Let's navigate the terminology and impact of bias in the workplace and in the greater world. The bias create a very difficult situations to have a correct decision. The bias is our mind manipulate our decisions. I may have a conscious bias. I know that my decision is biased for what one or two or three, that we are aware that this bias occur. But the most dangerous bias is unconscious. Unconsciously, we happen, and this bias happen outside of our awareness. So in geology, this is psychology. What in geology? Of course, we have a lot of individual bias, around 18 bias. And this bias, before you making a risk assessment, you have to know what affect your decision. What is the factors affect your decision? Just to make a solid, concrete chance of success, because this chance of success will be translated to money. This is the most important. We are running a business, $1 million business. We cannot have a variation in values more than 60%. We are running a multi-million dollars. So first of all, before making a risk assessment, I have to understand how my brain works. In psychology, we have an affect heuristic bias. What is the affect heuristic bias in psychology? It's how often we rely on our emotions rather than a concrete information when making decisions. This allows us to reach a conclusion quickly. Like in the comment section, one of the most important thing about bias said gut feel less than 10%. This is a gut feel. This is a very important thing about the bias. A lot of professionals make like Lou. This is one of the bias called affect heuristic. It makes that we often rely on our emotions rather than a concrete information. This is in psychology. But in G&G, the explorer may explain the logical success by her gut feeling. If you go to the comment section, this is actually thank you, IZ, because just like you make it clear, you give us a very important one. Here IZ said in the comment section, in gut feel, it's less than 10%. This is gut feel. This is the first bias that I will talk about today. The gut feeling. You cannot use the gut feeling while risking. You said, okay, this is a gut feel because this is an webinar and we're online or whatever. But actually, a lot of people use the gut feeling. Say, no, I don't think that. I don't think that will be happen. In G&G risk assessment, explorer get his gut feelings rather than justifying her conclusion with data and the model. So, first of all, never use your gut feeling. Rely on concrete data. You cannot use a gut feeling. So whenever you are putting a risk assessment for one prospect, and I know the gut feeling when you make a seismic interpretation and you can find a very good looking anticline, this is a four-way depth closure and the volume is very big. So you will get, okay, this is a gut feeling. Will be a great prospect. So your mind, because you are interested in this prospect, your mind will play against you. And he will get you to put a high numbers of risk, although this is not correct. So, number one, you cannot never use your gut feeling. I'll talk today about only 2 or 3 of the bias, but we have more than 20 bias in group and individual. The second bias in the individual assessment of the chance of success is anchoring effect. What is anchoring effect? Here, if we have 2 mugs, as I said, for sale, and the two are the same price, actually. But you will take the one that say, okay, we have a discount here, this mug worth $1,000, but now it's only 300, so I'll get this mug. You take one piece of information as a concrete. It have a discount, so this is the free money. Actually, this is not correct. The marketing play with your mind. They know that you will go and get this in the sale. Like Black Friday. If you go here in Egypt in the Black Friday, you will find if you find like a blazer for $1,000, they will remove the $1,000 and they'll put $1,100 instead of $2,000. All the people go and get it for $1,100, although its original price is only $1,000. But you put only one piece of information as an anchoring bias. In G&G, this happens also because we are humans. We're now talking about the psychology. Explorer may assign the total chance of success for segment, similar for another segment. Okay, I know this prospect, I had another prospect dwelled in Pakistan. It looks the same on seismic, the same everything. And in Pakistan, the chance of success was 60%. So now in Egypt, I'll put the 60% because I had the same. No, this is not correct. This is bias. So you may assign the total chance of success in a similar way for another segment or in a similar even calculations or values. But every prospect have to be risked in his own way. What is the main risk that we have here? What is the main risk that we have in our company? What is the main risk in this field? Some fields, the main risk is find the cementation inside the sandstone itself. This is one of the main risks. So the anchoring bias, you may put the total chance of success similar to the other segments in the play without fully considering that it may differ. The third one, so in psychology, the anchoring bias in our head is a congenitive bias that causes us to rely heavily on the first piece of information we're given about a topic. So we are setting plans for marketing estimate about something, we get a few information from the reference. So this is another type of bias. We have, as I said, we have more than 12 or 13 bias. The third one we'll talk about today in the individual bias, and one of this is one of the very important one. And actually, this bias affected a lot of professionals while making risk and while putting a chance of success. The confirmation bias. What it means, I only look for the data that confirm my point of view, that confirm my philosophies. I only look for the data. But anything doesn't confirm it, I just neglect it. I ignore any evidence doesn't confirm my point of view. When I search if anyone done this before, I look for the successful cases happening before. I don't look for unsuccessful cases. But actually, you will learn from the unsuccessful cases, not from the successful cases. So, in psychology, how our head describe and how our brain works, the confirmation bias is underlying tendency to notice and focus on and give greater credence to the evidence that fits with our beliefs. I look for the evidence that fits with my belief. I neglect any other evidence. And this is one of the most important bias. And from my point of view, this is number one bias that could lead to incorrect risking. Because I only know that when I'm making the risk, I'll put the risk of the reservoir here for 0.8 because we found it in 3 wells before, but you neglect that there's 2 wells. They didn't find the reservoir at all. So the confirmation bias in G&G, explorer may look for evidence only supporting her assessment of high probability of structure being present, doesn't look for the downplays. He knows that, okay, I will work on only the high structure. It doesn't look for the evidence that doesn't confirm his belief. For the group assessment, when we make a group assessment for the chance of success, we have the authority bias. And actually, all of us do this authority bias. The chairman wants to duel this prospect. So he has this cartoon, he know everything because he have a funny ad. The authority bias makes you, as a geologist, when the CEO of the company or the chairman or the exploration manager thinks the segment has a low risk, we try to find the reason to justify his opinion. We don't want to be against him. Okay, the chairman or the exploration manager said he will duel alpha. I cannot say the alpha is a bad reservoir. I just, okay, be with him. He's the CEO. He can fire me for the company or whatever. So the authority bias makes an incorrect decision. What I'm trying to tell you here, I'm trying to remove all the bias that's in psychology. They are 100% proven. So the effect of the bias in calculating the chance of success in G&G, what I'm trying to teach you the bias. We have more than 17 bias in the individual and more than 6 bias in the group. If you know how your brain works, you will neglect all things of bias because you know that, okay, I have a gut feeling. No, I will not use this gut feeling. Okay, now I have a confirmation bias. I will not use it. If you know how your brain works, you will put an unbiased risk calculation. The other one of the group bias is one of the most important bias in the in our life, not only in G&G, which is halo effect. You know, if you have a problem with some company and you go to the reception and you try to yelling, what have you done and whatever, they'll give you a very beautiful secretary, get to you, okay, calm down. You will find her a very beautiful secretary. You will be calm down because she looks great and she dresses great and whatever, it will calm you down. And you will accept what she said, or at least it will calm you down. The halo effect is one of the most dangerous bias even in our life, not in G&G. The halo effect refers to congenital bias, where a person's overall impression of another person influence their judgment about the twins. So, the experiment conducted in 1992, as I told you, this is 100% proven, were pivotal to illustrating this phenomenon, revealing how general impression can skew our evaluations of others. In G&G, when the recently hired explorer previously worked in one of the most successful exploration companies, I know one that he worked in Shell, he worked in BP, and he joined our company, and our company is a smaller company. So we'll take his opinion. He will say, no, this reservoir is very good. I'll give it 90%. All of us know he knows better. So his justification or his risk may be trusted more than opinion of the other explorers ago. And this is one of the most important bias. He worked before in whatever, he has a lot of experience, whatever, but it will makes you to trust his opinion, although you know that you worked in this company for more than him. He just joined 6 months ago and he worked for 10 years. You know that what he's saying is have a lot of risk. But no. He worked in Shell or worked in PB or whatever. He will have they teach him a lot. He know a lot. So you will trust his opinion, although his opinion is not correct. So for today, I think I will not go more than this in bias. I will not teach all the bias information. This is, I think, enough for this webinar. But the most important thing, to give you advice, you have to know how your brain works and how your mind works before putting the risk assessment, because the risk assessment doesn't have a concrete solid. So how could we overcome this bias? For myself, and actually for Molkev in 2040s, we put a table risk. We want to reduce the bias, so we give the risk in tables for every factor in the risk assessment. I'll give you only one example from one of the factors, which is the reservoir deliverability. Here, we'll put a concrete solid to get a number. That number is not biased by anyone or anything in our minds. So if we have here a model existence, and this is the data, because the most important thing is the data. So if I have a sandstone, and this we have already numerical models, and we have it gives you that we have a good reservoir deliverability. They put here the temperature for the oil. Why temperature of the oil? Because as I said in the beginning, in the reservoir deliverability, the API is very, very important, because if I have a 10%, a 5% porosity, and our reservoir produce gas, mainly gas or gas and condensate, this will produce naturally. But if I have the same 5 or 6% porosity with API 30 or even F28, this will never produce. I have to make frac or whatever. I have to make an extra work for this. So they put a numbers here, and here they put the we put the criteria for choosing. If I have here one like greenstone package or latex, and all the wells less than 50% kilometers have a very good reservoir deliverability. So here I'm confident. I have good oil, and I have greenstone, and the greenstone have a very, very good porosity, and this good porosity in all the fields less than 50 kilometers. Okay, so now I'm confident about the reservoir deliverability. I'm very confident. But what if this wells is from 50 to 100 kilometers away? I'll reduce it. Here, not all the wells less than 100 kilometers have a good reservoir deliverability. We will reduce, we have like 50% of them have a good and 50% have bad. All the wells away, more than kilometers away, have a very poor reservoir deliverability. So I'll put it only 55% chance of success. So we'll talk about this, we'll reduce it to 0.4, 0.3 or whatever, but we cannot make it more than 55% because I have a concrete data. Here, this table makes me less biased when I make the risk assessment. But only if I don't have any wells in the play. But the seismic gives a very good data, and the regional data said it's good reservoir deliverability. Then I'll put only 75 because it's maybe I have, may have not. But if I have a carbonate reservoir, choke or core facies, it will be reduced. It will start with 0.95%, even if I have all the wells have a good reservoir deliverability. That will be reduced to 0.6. What about the greenstone, packstone, or light, or 4 reef facies in higher temperature? So if I look at this table will get you from 100% accuracy that I'm confident that will produce to only 0.115. Would you see the difference? So I'm trying to put a rules. These rules make you know how to put the chance of success and how do you make a less biased chance of success. And now you know how your brain works. You know that if you have a gut feeling, no, put this gut feeling away. Just see how to make it. Of course, we don't have the time to talk about all the elements of the risking. So I just only put the reservoir deliverability. One of the most important things to put the success criteria definition. This is one of the most important things in risks, and a lot of professionals doesn't make it. What is my technical success criteria? When will I say this well is successful? What the presence of hydrocarbon? What is the minimum reservoir quality? What is the flow rate requirements? What is the recoverable volume? This is the technical, when I'm talking about the technical. What about the commercial criteria? What is the minimum economic field size? Before I drill, I have to know, should I drill this, although it have a high chance of success? What is the minimum economic field size? What is the rate of return? What is the market conditions? Actually, those two slides are the link between the risk and the economics. Let's understand what is the E&P business and what is industry business. If I have a producing field, the cash flow we get from the revenue, some of it getting to the operations, to the producing, then some of them conducting to the taxes, to the interest rates, to the dividends, to the debit. This is the workflow, the cash flow. Then I take a new debit and I try to make a reinvestment to obtain license and access this license, conduct G&G studies, potential, to discover a potential and develop the green field, to go to the brown field and start again this. So This cycle relies 100% on the risk assessment, because if I make the risk assessment not correct or not reliable, you will break the investment cycle. Why I'm saying this? Because let's calculate the EMV, expected monetary value. I'll not go through the economics in this presentation, but I'm just giving you a effect or just a notice about how the risk could affect the economics. As we said, we all got this data on the first of my presentation, and we have more than 70% variation. So the expected monetary value is the risked volume multiplying by the oil price minus the exploration cost. How could we calculate the risk volume? We calculate the volume for the Monte Carlo, of course, the volumetric will not go again back to the volumetric calculation, don't have time, but for the volumetric asking, after giving the Monte Carlo and using the Excel sheets or the other softwares, we get the volume, then we multiply this volume by the risk factors that we calculated, then minus the exploration cost. So let's think about if we have 1 million barrels and we multiply by the 80%, the first chance of success we will have here 80,000 barrels. But if we use the 10%, we'll have only 110,000 barrels. This will affect the economic value and the expected monetary value. So the chance of success here will affect the economic's direct effect. So if you don't make it correct, and if you don't remove all the bias and stay in the concrete solid that you are confident of this risk calculation, you will ruin the economics of the prospect. Let's have an example. If I have an unrisked recoverable oil around 200 million barrels, and the probability chance of success calculated is only 25%, and the oil price around $70 per barrel, and the drilling cost around $500 million. How we calculate it? Very simple. Calculate the risked volume. The risked volume is the original oil in place calculated, sorry, not the original oil in place, the reserve. So I have the original oil in place, then multiplied it by the recovery factor, then again reduce it by multiplied it against the risk factor. 0.25, this is the chance of success. If we go back, the chance of success of this prospect is 25%. So we'll multiply the 200 versus the 25% chance of success. You'll find only 50 million barrels. Then calculate the expected revenue. The revenue here will be around $3.5 million. So it's $3,500 million. The expected monetary value here will be $3,000 million. This is a positive, so it will go with the investment. Whatever the risk values was 10% or was 80%, it will affect the EMV, and it will make the CEO, the chairman, its go or no go decision, because it will calculate the money. It will give you, if you put a low chance of success, it will give you a low EMV, but other one in the same team doesn't make it correct and put a higher values, they will go with his investment, not for yours investment. That's why a solid concrete, as I said, I'll teach you how to create in the course, how to create a solid concrete biased risk values. How could we calculate it? So the economic decisions criteria that is 100% connected to the risk, 5 criteria or 6 criteria: the net present value, the expected monetary value, and the minimum field economic size. This is one of the most important things. What is the minimum field economic size? When you put the IRR and the internal rate of return with the hurdle factor in my company, Okay, this field is economic when I calculate the risk assessment and I multiply the risk assessment using the EMV, but not in this easy value. We'll use it will be calculated via softwares and calculated with the probability and the Monte Carlo. And then we'll calculate what is the minimum field value to explore. Then the internal rate of return, what is the payback period, what is the profitability index? Because we rely on 100% on G&G, but what actually concerns money? This is business. Now you can find the chairman of most of the companies is not G&G, not a petroleum engineer, he's a business because this is business concerns with money. So if I don't know as a geologist or the geophysics, what is the economic decision criteria and I don't make the risk correctly, it will not be good. So I think this is enough for today for the risk assessment. I hope that I could give you some insights about the risk assessment and how to calculate it. So before going to the second thing of the webinar, anyone have a question about what I said? Just leave it in the comment before starting the second part of our presentation, because I think we have only 15 minutes left. So please, any comments or any question before I go further?
Hi, I'm Godfred. Can you please get the course materials?
Hello, Godfred. How are you? From where are you, Godfred? Which country? Hello? Again, hello?
Ghana.
Ghana. Okay. So what's your question,
Yeah.
Godfred?
Yeah, materials.
Okay.
After the program, can we have the access?
I think you have something in the okay. So I think you have something in the connection. So please leave your question in the comment section. Let's go in the dry hole analysis. But actually, I put here the name of my paper, Turning Black and Abundant Dry Wells from New Discoveries. So please mute yourself and leave your question in the comment section. Okay, I remember the geologist labeling each formation for B90, B60, B10, and so on. Please explain how that decided. Okay, now you are talking about the Monte Carlo. The Monte Carlo is a simulation that puts the risk factor and gets the probability. Of course, we don't have the time here to get it, but it's getting by the Monte Carlo. We can use it using the risk software. The risk software actually is one of the, I like this software. Sorry, I don't have the time now to teach you this software and how to calculate the risk and the probability based on the Monte Carlo. And actually, this is not only for the risk, it's also for the volumetrics. The volumetrics you have, we make the volumetrics and the EMV 3 values, not only one value. One value is very primitive. You have to use the probability 10 and 50 and 90. Of course, you have 100%, thank you for your question, 100% correct. So have one value is very primitive. Have to use the 10 and 50 and 90. Of course, you have Hafiz, please. Your voice is not. I cannot.
Hello.
Yes, Hafiz. Yes, now I can hear you, Hafiz. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is Hafiz from Sudan.
Hello, Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. كيف الأحوال?
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for this very nice presentation. My question is, we as explorationists, when we report our resources, should we report this risk for economic calculation, or just we use the volume?
Okay. Thank you for Hafiz for this question. Thank you very much. Of course, in the multinational oil and gas companies, and for myself, we always put the economic calculations, the EMV, and especially the EMV, because it's directly connected to the risk, directly connected to the risk. That's why when I give this course, 100% I put the economic, I put the economics slides, and I explain all the economic criteria in this course. This is 100%. This is the professional way. You cannot only put the recoverable resource, you have to make the financial calculation to know how will this, they will decide, because every company has a hurdle factor. This hurdle factor connected to the internal rate of return. So if the prospect that you get doesn't meet with the minimum economic field size, or doesn't meet with the hurdle factor of the IRR of your company, they will not accept the prospect at all. So it's very important to know the criteria. That's why I'm 100% sure that I cannot teach, or anyone cannot teach, a risk assessment course without economics. This cannot be done. This is not correct. And the professional way, they are too linked. The risk assessment is linked to the economics. So we have to commingle them together to understand what is the risk and impact. What is the impact of the risk values I'll do? If I don't understand the impact of this risk value on my work and on my decision, we will never get it, and we will never get it right. You have to know how far that the value you put for a chance of success will go in the decision-making tree. Because the decision-making doesn't rely only on the risk. This is not correct. The decision 100% on economics. They choose in economics. So I'll go through the turning black and abundant dry holes from disaster to discovery. As an introduction, can we make a twist? Can we turn actually the dry holes into discovery? Actually, yes. For myself, I made it more than 20 times in my professional life. I get a dry hole, maybe an unforgettable, forgettable hole, black and abundant hole, and I create a exploration wisdom, and I create a new discovery from it. But before we go to the dry hole analysis, the first question to ask ourselves: this well, when was it drilled? If I have a well was drilled in 1983 or 1985, in 1980s, the oil price in 1980s was $20. Now the oil price is $70. So this well wasn't dry actually. The production of this well back then will be very low. So this well wasn't economic. So the investor leaves this location and go to invest in other location. And he left this well because this well wasn't economic. It wasn't dry. But when you see the samples, we'll see this is dry hole, plug and abundant hole. So the first question to ask yourself when you find a plug and abundant hole or a dry hole, was it actually dry hole, or it wasn't an economic hole when this hole was drilled? This was uneconomic. The other one, you will find in the old reports that this will have a net pay of 2 meters, and these 2 meters will not produce good. You will find this in the old report. But the most important questions: what was the cutoffs that were used in 1980s? They used the cutoffs of positive 15%, but now we're using 10%. If you re-evaluate, you will find this, you will find 7 meters net pay, not only 2 meters. You perforate, you will produce, and it will be economic. Because now in 2025, the well that will produce 200 barrels per day, it will be economic. But back in 1983, it wasn't economic, so they left this segment. So before making a dry hole analysis, the most important question to ask yourself: was it dry hole? So that's why the economics is very important for the question of Hafiz, because for the dry hole analysis, you have to know what is the economics, and how the economics will be calculated to know back then in 1980s, they left this well and they didn't produce for this well because of the dry hole analysis. So can we make a twist? Yes, we can make a twist. We can make this well again. Exploration wisdom. We'll use a post-well analysis to determine the key failure for individual segments. The failure is the key of success. Actually, I'm 100% sure that we learn from the dry hole more than we learn from the success holes, because the dry holes make us think, make us train our minds. What happened? What did we miss? Is it uncertainty? If you remember that at the beginning of this lecture, I told you, you have to differentiate between the uncertainty and the risk. This well was a dry hole because the interpretation wasn't good. But if we make an interpretation, we found that this well is of a structure. So actually we have here oil and gas, but the well location is not correct. So you have to put a post-dwell and pre-dwell analysis. You have to put the structure map before you dwell this and the structure map after we dwell this well. The segment, every segment, what have been done? So the methodologies of failure analysis, if we see here in this pie chart, we will find that most of the holes most of the causes of the dry hole are very basic causes. That's why when I'm telling you about the dry hole analysis, I'll tell you one advice. Keep it simple. Keep it simple to get to the real reason. The dry hole analysis starts in your mind, not using the software. Don't be software physicist. Be a geophysicist or a geologist, not a software. Just use your mind. As you can see, absence of reservoir facies, 23% of why this well was dry. Lack of closure, more than 19%. Lack of seals, around 40%. Very, very basic concepts. We'll not have the time today to get to all the causes and the causes of the dry hole, so I will pick only 2 or 3. So the first one, the presence of a structure. The test one is the post-dwell, and the pre-dwell is this soil line. So if I dwell the well, here there's 2 wells.
That's what I was calling for.
The post-well map is live. Okay, could you mute yourself, please? Let me mute him, please, one moment. Okay, so let me ask you a question. If anyone have the answer of this question. Here, this well was drilled on the crest, and this well was drilled on the last closing contour. Why this happened? Why some explorationists decide to drill on the last closing contour, and another one decide to drill the exploration well on the crest, and this one was drilled on the last closing contour? Why this happened? Why some explorationists decide to drill on the last closing contour, and another one decide to drill the exploration well? Okay, anyone have the answer of this question? Why someone decide to drill on the crest and the other one decide to drill on the last closing contour? Thank you, Edgar. Edgar, I can remember you from the last course. Edgar, 100%. Why someone decide to keep drilling? 100% correct. Because of the minimum field size. Here, I know that if I'm on the last closing contour, this will be economic. If not, it will not be economic. So this is the post-dwell against the dwell. I will just compare only the structure map of the post-well and pre-well. They may have a different amplitude, but also it's success well, because this different amplitude doesn't matter. But here we start the problem. Now we have a huge difference between the pre-dwell and the post-dwell. This could be caused by a wrong interpretation, a bad seismic, a lot of things. So this well will find small oil, but it may not find oil at all. If I find this well is a dry hole and the investor leaves this segment and now I found this dry hole, what shall I do? I'll compare between the post-well and the well, and I find that this well will be of a structure. Then I'll propose another prospect. I'll use the data of this and I'll propose another prospect here. And this prospect, if successful, I'll be turning this plug and abandon hole into successful. And as you can see, this is a failure. The post-well, I found here, it's not shifted, but there's no at all. There's no structure at all because of bad seismic or bad interpretation or whatever. I had sidetrack if you can, 100% correct. Let's have one example. Here the example in Oman. They dwelled in Salt Basin, in Fahoud Basin, and after they drilled this well, they found that the top seal is breached and the unconformity took this field. The unconformity was at the crest, indicating erosion, but actually the unconformity took the top seal. That's why the well was dry. But actually, they make this well, although it's a dry hole, this well with opening of one of the largest oil and gas fields in Oman. By very simple asking themselves, okay, the reservoir on the crest, which was very good carbonate, very good porosity, had a breached seal. What they did after 10 years, they only make a deepening, getting to the deeper reservoirs. They opened this well after 10 years, the same well, and make a deepening for 1 kilometer, and they discovered one of the most huge oil fields in Oman. So the problem is how make it simple and try to think about every element and use your imagination. What make it wrong and how to create a success story from what happened. The other thing, the reservoir facies. What happened with the reservoir facies? As you can see, on the exploration well, we said that we have a sandstone, but after it, we find shale. Okay, how could we make it correct? By making a conceptual model to know where is the sandstone and try to create the sandstone. Look at this slide. This is from Outcrop. Here's 100% shale, and here's sandstone benching out inside the shale. So they drilled this well in this area. So they found 100% shale. So they leave this area as a plug abandoned, although we have a reservoir. How could you make this well into discovery? Go and study the regional, study the positional environment, know that you are outside of the channel. An example for this, in Niger Deltas, you have a lot of channels in the Niger Delta. And one of the most important risks in gas that the DHI or the light hydrocarbon indicator for the gas, 100% gas give you on seismic the same indication as only 10% of gas. So here in this well, pre-drill seismic data show the bright amplitude anomaly, interpreted as a hydrocarbon-bearing sand. But the post-drill, they found it water sand. Because of this, the velocity of the sandstone gas doesn't change from only 10% gas to 100% gas. It changes slightly. That's why make a fake DHI goes containing of only 10%. Should we have do with this? Make seismic inversion, make AVO inversion. Let's have an example from Egypt. Here they have two anomalies. This anomaly have a bright amplitude, and this anomaly also bright amplitude. But this is a dry hole, and this is a gas well. Looking in the seismic section, in Qasim sand, the same amplitude anomaly. But this is dry hole, and this is gas well. Then we know in this example that we have to make an AVO inversion. After we made the AVO, can you see the difference between the dry hole and the gas well? It's very obvious. We don't have here the bright spot anymore. So from the dry hole, we just make a workflow how to overcome this uncertainty and how to reduce the risk. So the possible causes of not encountering a reservoir: incorrect seismic interpretation. As I said, seismic data may have misinterpreting, lead to drilling in a location where no reservoir, or seismic anomalies have been caused or non-reservoir features, or water-bearing sand, or the geological complexity, or poor reservoir quality, or actually inaccurate well placement. The well may have missed the target reservoir due to drilling errors, or the geosteering may fail to keep the well within the target zone. I'll not continue with the other elements, but let's have this workflow. I copied it from Melco and modified it. Just this workflow is about to train my mind how to think and how to convert this dry hole into discovery. If I have field segment, the first question that I ask to myself before I ask this question is, this well is actually dry? This is the most important question. So if I have here a field segment, yes, I have. Does it contain facies? No, I don't have. So here, now I have a reservoir presence failure. How to overcome a reservoir presence failure? Think about it and know about your original. Of course, we don't have time to say everything. So this facies contain oil and gas shows. Does it contain oil and gas shows? Yes. In case of old wells, was it economic? As I said, this is 100% important. Yes, it was economic. So does it contain a tight reservoir? Does I have a problem in reservoir deliverability? Yes, you have to think unconventional. What to do to make this well produce? If no, does it have an effective top seal? No, the seal wasn't effective. So now we have a top seal failure. Think how to make this failure into discovery. Yes, we have effective top seal. Was it within the trap? Whatever is a structure trap or stratigraphic trap? If it no, okay, so we have a structure failure or a stratigraphic failure. If yes, do I have effective lateral seal? What is the timing? So this workflow gives you guiding about how to think about the plug and abandoned holes and how you convert this plug and abandoned holes into discoveries. So I just don't want to make it a very long webinar. I just give you insights about those things. I hope that you enjoying this 1 hour presentations. You're not allowing me to making a more than 1 hour presentation. I'm sorry, I just wanted to be more and more. Thank you all for attendance. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Let me open the comment section if anyone have any comments. So the comments here about the material. Okay, I'll talk with the reservoir solution to see. Thank you all. and thank you for all the comments. Ibrahim, I think it's your take it now. Hello, Ibrahim.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Muhammad. Thanks for
Thank you.
interesting webinar. It's a very good one. We sent the form of certification to a group chat, and we will send it also via YouTube live. Please fill in the form via 15 minutes only, because it will be closed. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, Ibrahim, I would like to thank you a lot. Have a good day. Thank you all in the comment section. I like your comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Actually, I like the comments that you said in this in comment section. Thank you a lot for this very good comments. Thank you.
I can leave.